All right, I'm pretty excited about this next project here. I didn't think I'd be doing it so soon. We just got through with the coilovers, and I thought I always wanted to do this next project, but I thought I would take some time off, maybe next year, next winter. But I don't know, things aligned, and it just seems like the right time to do it now. So if you have seen some of the previous videos, you know that this is a seal gray car, 2002 Carrera 2, and I've got black wheels on the car. All right, these are OZ Allegeritas, and these are a little wider than the OEMs. So I have the OEM 5-spoke wheels, the 18-inch 5-spoke, which are great. I like them, but I just like black wheels better. But the thing with this car is it's already dark, and then you put the black wheels on, and it just needed something more. And I always thought like red calipers on this car would look great. You know, the contrast with the dark colors would really look good. But, you know, that's not a functional thing. It's an aesthetic thing. So the priority was pretty low, you know, on the list. But, you know, as you guys probably do, I'm poking around on eBay, always kind of keeping my eyes open. And one day I came across these. And it wasn't super cheap, but it was better than most of the sold deals on eBay. You know, these are not cheap. That's the problem. But they look like they were in really good condition. They actually came with the pads. Now, these are the rears. I already kind of cleaned them a little bit. Once I mount them, I think I can clean them a little bit better. But honestly, I don't want to spend a lot of time trying to clean these. As long as they look good from the outside, you know, it's going to accomplish what I'm looking for. But actually, these came with pads. And if you look at the amount of pad left on that. I mean, these are practically new. So I didn't intend to use the pads. You know, my plan was take off the stock calipers. These pads aren't bad, but those are better. I'm going to use those. And, you know, I know a lot of purists are like, oh, you don't do pads unless you do disc, and then you bed them and blah, blah, blah. I know, we know that, and we can do that if we need to, but no harm in trying to put those pads on and, you know, see how they feel. I can always go back to these pads, which I don't know if you can see, there's still plenty of life left. Not too much of a lip on the disc. So, and if you look, these OEM calipers, the clear coat's missing here. You know, they look pretty bad. They're hidden behind the wheel for the most part. And the logo still stands out, which is nice, you know. But putting color back there behind the wheel, I think is just going to make this car look great. And, you know, for anybody thinking about doing this, don't forget, you can sell these OEM calipers. Well, the red ones are OEM as well, but you can sell your black. You know, so if you think of it that way, if you get a good deal on the red, you put these on Craigslist, Facebook, eBay, whatever, you sell those, the net cost could come pretty close to nothing, maybe nothing. That's what I'm hoping for. So anyway, that's the overview. Let's get to it. Okay, we're going to start in the back. All right. So what do we have to do here? Because the pads have this electronic connection for pad wear, we're going to want to remove the pads first. Then we're going to want to disconnect the brake line, then remove the caliper. All right, so if we're doing that, removing the pads is really straightforward with these, but the connection, this cable here, we're going to want to remove the connection here, and it unplugs. See if you can see the connector. Unplugs here. So let's take a look and we'll do that now. All right, so we have to release this. We're going to remove this cable, and that's held by this little connector. And there's two little wings to it, so, and then it swings open. Okay, no tool needed. What I had to do was put two hands on it. So pull up on the wings on both sides, and then see, it just swivels up. Okay, so on this side I had to kind of spread it, and on this side I had to spread and then lift up. All right, so here's the pad connection. All right, I want to remove it from here and here. Okay, so we've got that. Now we can remove the pad. Let me grab the tripod. All right, so we've got to remove this clip here, little cotter pin. Right there. And now it's just a matter of, let's see if you can see me. Yep, just kind of pushing the pin through here. And then you can see this clip pushes out because it's been retained by the pin. So with the pin out of the way, it pushes out. All right, here's the pin. We can remove the clip. This cable, yeah, I think you can see it. This cable is right here. It's got to come out, and then just work the clip out. Okay. All right, so we've got to spread the pads, right, to get the pads out and to get the caliper off. So let me go get a tool. All right, I'm going to use a vise here to squeeze the pad. Trying to loosen things up. Let's see if I can get it to bite this one. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, get them loose. Okay, I'm going to try to capture this with the camera. I honestly can't see what I'm doing. I'm just looking through a viewfinder of a camera right now. It's pretty lousy. Okay, so now I can pull a whole caliper out, and I don't have to worry about the bracket. I'll put the bracket on the new caliper and put everything back on it. Okay, so I've got a 10 millimeter open end on the brake line. Okay, so let's remove it. And I got a little catch pan underneath because we know we're gonna be spilling All right. Okay, that bracket is just held on by a 10 millimeter. You break it loose with an open end and you can unscrew it with your fingers, so pretty simple. So I've got my 10 millimeter hex bit, and we've got 2 bolts that we have to remove the caliper. Okay, this is gonna obviously drain a little bit, so I'll leave that there. And it's dripping as well. Here's the bracket, see? Here's where that 10 millimeter bolt was. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Alright, so we got the pads from the original calipers, and we're putting it on the new ones. Alright, let's get the caliper on. Then we're going to do that bracket and the brake line. And just, I want to acknowledge I'm not putting brake grease on any of the pads or the guides or anything like that. I'm just putting the pads from the old caliper onto the new. And if I have any issue once I'm done with the project, I'll just go in and address it. It might require even new parts, which if I have to do that, I'll do that. But at this point, my goal is to just swap calipers and not do like full brake jobs. So we'll see. I might end up having to do that stuff afterwards, but that's not the goal at this point. So it's difficult to put the camera in a position to see the brake line, so I basically just reached around and started to thread it. And I don't have that on video, but the bracket is still loose, but the brake line's attached to it, so you can move it a little bit, but the brake line's metal, so there's not a lot of movement. Alright, so I'm going to put that bracket bolt up as well, and again, you can't even see it with the camera, but basically I'm just reaching around, okay? So I reached around, tried to get that bracket bolt started, and it just wasn't lined up. So just letting you know, I actually went kind of under the car and looked up, and then that way I could kind of just press on the bracket and move it into position and get it aligned. So now both the brake line and the bracket are there. I'm just going to snug it up with the 10 millimeter. Alright, we cleaned things up, and that other wiring connection, the grommet that goes on the bracket, I put that back on. That's the piece we pried off earlier. So now we've got to put the pad bracket on here. Okay, so I just want to point something out with this pin. You see that hole? That's where the cotter pin goes in, that little cotter pin. Okay, so you want to have this positioned straight up and down like this. Okay, if it's to the side, you're going to have difficulty putting the cotter pin in. So just be aware as you're sliding that through. Now I've got to compress this bracket, otherwise I won't be able to get that in. So you can see I've got a Phillips head screwdriver. Okay, kind of hit the stops there. Now I'm just going to have to tap it in. Okay, I'm through. Now I take my cotter pin and I stick it straight in till it clips. Now I have this cable. The wear sensor goes here. It goes up here. I'm not sure if you can see, but you saw that first time around in the bracket, and then it plugs in. And then that lever comes down and locks that connector. Okay, so we're all done with the installation. Now we have to bleed. Okay. All right, bleeding is pretty straightforward. We have two bleed fittings, an outside and an inside. We're going to start with the outside, and then when we're done bleeding that, we'll go to the inside. And let me remove this rubber cap here. This is a 11 millimeter. So what I'm going to do is put a hose here, bring it down to my drain pan, and that way I can just crack it open, let the brake fluid drain out and take all the air out. Okay, here's the brake fluid that I'm using. Now I already have some in the power bleeder from when we did the clutch, but I want to put a little bit more in. I want to make sure I don't run out when I'm bleeding. All right, there's the power bleeder. You see it, it's about 17-18 pounds. The level is up to here, so if I had more I'd probably put it in because I still have the other brakes to do, but I'll just be keeping an eye on how much comes out. All right, so we're ready to go. We're pressurized. We're gonna put our brake hose, this hose, so that all this old fluid comes out and drains, and let's crack it open here. Okay, very little air came out. You saw that. Probably gonna get a lot of air on the inside, but we'll see. All right, let's see what comes out of here. There's all the air right there. All right, so I'm feeling like we did get all the air out of this, so let's remove it. And for kicks, I'm gonna go back to the front. Let's see what happens if we get anything else. No. More air. Okay, so we've got things all set now. I wiped everything down. I did put brake cleaner on the disc. Anywhere that brake fluid might have ended up on the caliper, I cleaned that as well. So the rear is done, and let's look at a front now. All right, we're at the front. This should go faster than the back because all we have here is this pad sensor cable. So I'm going to clip that tie wrap that I had there, and that goes to the same connector as the back. So you pull up the wings and you swivel it up like that, and you pull that out. And you pull that out. Okay. Then all there is the brake line and the two hex nuts to hold the caliper. Let me get the drain pan. All right, let's see if you can see the line there. So I've got my catch here. Okay, let me loosen that. I really need two hands here. All right, the brake line is undone, but because it's rigid, it's still kind of sticking into the brake caliper, so I can't really pull it out. I did loosen this bracket here. There's just one 10 millimeter bolt that'll loosen it, and you can see I can move it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to relieve the pressure on the pads, okay? Just kind of compress the pads or expand them away from the disc. And then I'm going to loosen the caliper, and hopefully the brake line will come out as the caliper starts to come off. Okay, so don't forget the brake line's disconnected, so these brake pads are going to move pretty easily. I'm still kind of protecting this caliper even though it's pretty shot, and the clear coat is kind of peeling away. But, you know, no sense in making it worse. Of course, as I squeeze, you can hear all that brake fluid coming out of the caliper. Yeah, that's good. Alright, let me get on the other side so I can grab the caliper and pull the brake line out at the same time. Yeah, that's easy, getting the brake line out now. Okay, so here we go. Alright, let me put this aside. Alright, we have the new caliper, and the difference between the fronts and the backs is I am using the pads that are on here. So these are like brand new. Look at those. So I didn't remove the pads. That's one step that I don't have to do. these wide enough though. Let's see here. Come on, there you go. All right, I gotta get my brake line in before I secure this, so let me reach around back. Okay, so I just reached around and I've got the brake line in the hole of the caliper, but I've got to get it threaded. Okay, it's threading by hand, so I know I'm aligned. And having that bracket a little loose is helpful, so. All right, nice and snug. Now let me get my caliper bolts in. I've got one holding it up. I was struggling to get the caliper in position, so I just compressed the pads, you know, expanded them, and that little tiny bit was enough to get it to come on in position. So now I've got to tighten the hex nuts, the brackets snugged, and make my connection here. So let me do that now. And this is the same hex as the rear, so it's a 10 millimeter. I have the same torque value as the rear, so I might need to look this up because I'm just guessing right now. I'll do a double check. Okay, so calipers on, brake lines on. This has got a little brake fluid on it. Just wipe this down, and this has got, mine broke, but this has got the original kind of wrap that attaches the brake line or the pad sensor to the brake line. So this has got the original Porsche connector on here, which is kind of slick, but I'll probably break it when I take it apart. No, didn't break. Amazing. These things are kind of old at this point. Okay, so I'm using that connector. I don't have to put a tie wrap on it now. Okay, now we come to the pad. You've seen this a million times now. All right, everything's done. I got a bleed, and then I'm just gonna kind of clean everything down. So let's do that now. All right, let's see, we've got the outside fitting, just like the rear. And let's crack it open here. Remember, we didn't get much air on the outside of the rear. I don't really see, I don't see much coming out. Oh, maybe a little tiny air bubbles. Alright, gotta take that rubber cover off this one. These are on there pretty good, kind of surprising. So I use like a little trim tool to get them off. There it goes. All right, let's see what we get here. Yeah, there's some big bubbles coming out. Go check the power bleeder. In good shape there. We still got good pressure, over 15 pounds. And we're just flowing brake fluid here. This looks solid. All right, that'll do it. Now I've got to clean things up, put the wheels on, take it out in the light of day and see what it looks like. All right, here we are. We got the wheels on. I'm gonna lower the car and we'll take it outside so we can take a better look. All right, here it is. Looks good with the red. I have to say, it definitely was needed. We got some funky sun. The sun's super low in the sky right now, so kind of making them look like they're glowing, but it's just nice to have color behind that wheel now. Here it is in the shade. And brakes are working awesome. No squeals. Definitely, you can feel more pad now in the pedal. So it was a good buy. Let's see what I can get from my old calipers, and who knows, maybe I can make it a wash. But anyway, hope you guys liked the video, and we'll be back with the next project.